Hey, Brent, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, tell us who you are and what do you do?
My name is Brent Weaver. I'm currently CEO at E2M. We are a white label digital agency, serve over 400 partners worldwide, a team of now over 350 people across website development, ads, SEO, and AI services.
Wow, 350, all reporting to you.
Well, we actually tallied.
I'm just kidding.
I think actually we did pass the 400 mark, but we were in yeah. I think 410 is the official number, but I say 350 plus just to don't want to intimidate anybody.
It gets pretty intimidating. I remember I was intimidated when we got over a point where I couldn't know everybody. I couldn't know everybody's name, and I would think it's even more with you. With over 400 people, it'd just be like, especially when you went back to India or when you went to India, I guess for the first time and met everybody. I bet it was kind of freaky. Everyone knew you, but you were just trying to figure out them.
I think I told the team, I was like, next time I'm here, I'm going to ask everybody to wear name tags the whole time, right? Because I think you want to connect with people in that way, and I think, I think people like hearing their name, and it makes it easier. But certainly, you get to a certain company size, and your circle of influence gets smaller for sure. I think that's something that when I had a small team of 10 or 20 people. You have a huge circle of influence. You can literally control everything that's happening in the business, or at least have the perception of controlling everything that's happening in the business. But at this where we're at today, even in my last company to some degree, right? It was like I started realizing I had less of a circle of control, and I had to really focus more on how do I create influence and have fewer ideas, but repeat them more often, and get them out and be consistent with those things, because it takes it takes a long time for people. You can't just come in on Monday and be like, oh, let's do this thing, and expect the whole company to pivot, right? It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Well, but it's probably, I remember it was good in that way where I treat us, right, as the head of the company as kind of the gas pedal. We'll come up with the crazy shit. And then you have to have your leadership team right under you be the brake, or I call them dream squashers, right?
Yeah.
Of going hey, because I wouldn't make it up the mountain just with my foot on the gas the whole time. I'd be swerving off the mountain. They have to pump the brakes on the crazy ideas and be like, this is how we can roll it out. And yeah, it takes a shift as you get bigger to realize that.
I do hit the gas a little bit on the growth stuff, but I've also got Manish, our founder. He's a gas pusher, and I'm probably a little bit like, hey, we got great new idea. We already have a huge commit on our OKRs. We're starting a new quarter in literally 32 days. We got 32 days just to finish things we're working on right now, and then we'll start that next thing. And it's but can't we start it now? It's well, yes, but how do we do this? So. Certainly, it gets a little bit more complex, and I think most of my life is dealing with people related issues. Right?
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about agentic agency and kind of really your takeaway from your guys' event around Vistara, in Austin, and kind of what were kind of the key takeaways, that for the people that weren't able to, as I hit the mic, not able to make it there. What is an agentic agency in your eyes?
Yeah. We in the event was amazing, and thank you as well for your support and and your whole team's support and your community. Several agency mastery people were there, and it was cool to hang out with them for a couple of days. I think there's something that keeps me up at night. Maybe this keeps, I don't know if other agency owners feel this, but are we in this existential crisis as an industry? And as a white label agency or CEO of a white label agency, where our entire customer base is agencies, that's something that's top of mind for me. I think if I was in a random niche, if I was building chiropractic websites, right, I might be less what's happening in the agency world. I don't know. I'm focused on chiropractic. Maybe AI is impacting us a little bit, but not huge, right? I think in the agency space, this question of, are we in an existential crisis of this business changing fundamentally? Like if we go back in time, not to these like little iterations, like, responsive, mobile, social, video, right? These were like iterations of what was possible in the internet. But look at like the print designers. I mean, people that were like designing on like big drafting boards or something with like a ruler and like, if they kept doing what they were doing, they were going to be out of business.
Well, like our favorite movie, Rad. You remember them making the Rad T-shirts?
Yeah, right. I mean, screen printing, right? I mean, they're just the whole right. So like, those. If I was a print agency, print service business, right? If I made brochures and things like that, like I think when the web came around, like it was, or digital design, right? That was an existential crisis, right? If I was a Flash developer, right? Like at some point, like Adobe said, like this is going away, right? That's an existential crisis, right?
I
like,
love the tweening.
You have to completely reinvent what you're doing, right? And so I think when I look at agencies right now, there's a lot of, and we've been a big proponent of this, like AI first, be AI first, right? And I look at AI first as same agency, same org chart, same structure, right? We have for a website, we have a project manager, a designer, a front-end developer, a back-end developer, an SEO, a content person, right? Those are like the different seats. And an AI first agency would be the same org chart, just everybody has an AI assistant. And we're more productive, right? We are fundamentally more productive. Maybe we're shipping things a little bit faster. We're just moving quicker, right? We're not working less. Those people are just as busy now as they were 3 years ago. But it's the same people just doing more stuff, expected to do more work for less money. An agentic agency is saying, no, we are actually entering a different phase. We don't have those seats anymore, right? If we look at doing front end development, that role will be replaced within at least a couple of years, maybe not 6 months, but maybe another year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know what the exact horizon is, but that role, like I can already see the skills that our team is building, what we're doing in our business, like front end work from a development standpoint, that's going to be an agent. Back end work, we're talking about like WordPress, common content management systems, that's going to be an agent. Content, we're already like 95% there. It's not 100%. There's still like certainly a lot of value in humans being a part of that. Like when we think about creative thinking, kind of that like dynamic thinking, right? Like humans definitely play a role in that. But, we're certainly seeing if I'm building a restaurant website, there's so many of those. We have a huge body of work to look at. Can an agent successfully build a restaurant website with a handful of transcripts from just some discovery calls, whether you're vibe coding it or whatever, building on a WordPress. Yeah. So I think we're entering this like very different era of agencies. In my keynote, I talked about like the difference between DVDs and streaming for the movie rental and entertainment business, right? Like Blockbuster was trying to iteratively approach the problem. They had a streaming platform. There was a department that was like doing the streaming. They're like, hey guys, can we do stream? And then there was like still the meetings where they're talking about like optimizing late fees, right? And Netflix saw this and said, we can't ask the same business to do something fundamentally different, right? We're talking about like oil and water. These are different businesses altogether. And so I think that's kind of my perspective is, an agentic agency is fundamentally different than a digital agency. They're not the same thing, right?
Well, just even on the website, like this week I was chatting with a member and we were going through and he's like, I need to redo my website. And I'm like, and I need to pay someone to do my website. And I'm like, no one's really paying attention to you like you think they are anyway. Like let's not fix this yet. We will. But I even went to him. I said, I could jump on an hour call with you and we could build your whole website better than you would ever, like in an hour. I could walk you through it. Like all of our websites are designed in AI. About 6 months ago, before I really started jumping into AI, like really jumping in, like I would watch all the videos, the doomsday videos of everyone. My agency, I replaced my agency with one prompt. Just put prompt into Instagram and I'll fucking send it to you. I'm like, you're such an idiot. Like, or, and so I started believing that. I think a lot of people started believing that until I started messing with AI. And what I realized was this: it needs a director. Like one of the things I loved doing in my agency, I loved it. It was the most fun part was coming up with the visionary ideas for designing websites and working alongside the designer, directing them. I can do that with AI. I built 5 sites in like 3 hours, like that I would have charged a crap load of money. And so I just treat it as like an evolution. And
Yeah.
I'm with you about like the agentic agency and agentic businesses, right? Like we will all have agents. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm showing my team. Like that's what I was saying, you know, on my speech to your guys' audience is like, look, AI is not optional. It's a requirement now. And
Yeah.
you need to teach your team how to build these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm there on I think we do need to, you know, create learning development opportunities for our team 100%. I think there's also a bit of personal responsibility that's, you know, required, you know, like I think that it's easy to look at other industries that are not web or digital and see, you know, how this might compare, right? Like imagine I'm Netflix and I need to launch a streaming platform. You know, am I going to go to my pack and ship team? You know, the team that's like putting like the DVDs in the envelope, and I'm going to be like, hey, I need to build this like vertically scalable encoding platform on Amazon Web Services that's, you know, can go from, you know, 100 nodes to 10,000 nodes when we launch a new season or whatever, right? It's like
Probably not.
can you can you go to you know, Coursera and launch, you know, watch a couple of videos on Amazon infrastructure for you, right? Now this is an example, it's a little bit extreme, but what we found at E2M, we've got an AI services team. We launched it a year ago. That team is almost 100 people now. Those people are fundamentally different skill sets, mindsets, and approach than our traditional web team, our SEO team, our digital marketing team. They're just different. Our content team, they think differently. They have no baggage of how things used to be. You know, they kind of come in and they're native to the tools. Now, can they produce pound for pound the exact same quality of the same type of work for the same briefs? Like, no. And that's where you look at it and you go, okay, well, you know, some of our clients request really complex dynamic WordPress websites that have, you know, we're going in and revamping an existing site and have to work with existing infrastructure, and it's really complicated. And, you know, there's no way for us to have our AI team, you know, do that project, right? And our traditional team does that. And I think for a long time, that traditional team is still going to be very busy. They're still growing. We're adding headcount. But then there's this like different type of work for AI where we've just found that having an AI native team do that work is just fundamentally better, right? Instead of trying to like bring people like, you know, and we did the force feeding for like 9 months, like come in and extra time, you know, let's do no work on Fridays. Everybody's watching AI training. Let's retool. Let's give you all the, you know, we've done all that. We continue to do all that stuff. But at some point I had to say, like, is this just a fundamentally different type of business? And I think I came to the conclusion that it is. That's why I said, hey, this needs a new name. This is the agentic agency. We're building agents that deliver the work. We might still need some human in the loop there, but you know, that team needs to think about work fundamentally different. So we actually have like agentic agency squads that are now inside of our web team that are building agents to do the work. We have agentic agency squads that are in our digital marketing team that are building the agents to do the work. And then we have our full AI team that's building agents for agencies to do this kind of stuff. And I don't think we would get the same result if we were to use our traditional team in those things.
Yeah, you know, I mean that makes sense because you know, as I chat with the members or other agencies, one of the biggest things is the owner is really leading the charge on most of these cases, or they get excited about it. They go to, our events, right? And they're like, AI, like gas on, full gas to the floor, whatever gear. And you go back and the team is just like, holy cow, like this change is coming too quick for me. I haven't had an opportunity to mess with it. Some people just don't like change. I learned that when I was hiring a project manager many years ago. I'd be like, this is how I would sell this person on working for us. I'd be like, all right, you'll be in project management for like a year and a half, 2 years. You do really good. You'll get out of the suck, right? Then you can move up, right? But they loved it. They loved like following a process and not all this kind of stuff. And just
you were like selling them on not doing the job, like on their first day. You're like,
yeah,
don't worry, this won't last for very long.
That's right. I'm like, oh, this sucked. Because in my mind, that job fucking sucked. Like I couldn't, like, I don't want to talk to a client every day and follow a process. Like what the heck? Like you put me in a cage. And then I realized I was like, we're all different. And there's different types of people. So what do you say to because it is hard, right? Like when we were growing our agency as you're growing E2M, a lot of people that start with you, they don't evolve as quick as the business, including ourselves. Like a couple of times the business outgrew me and I had to evolve my role. That's what the whole book is all about, right? Like, so how do you, the people listening, how do you get over that? Like, outgrowing some of the team members would be like, hey, you might be better here somewhere else because we're changing things up.
Yeah. And I think what's worked well for us is kind of having that like creating a new team, right? Like a pod or a squad, you call it, Jeff Bezos calls it like 2 pizza teams, right? So a team that you can feed with no more than 2 pizzas, right? So that's a good place. I think if you're a 10 or 20 or 30 person agency, right? Like create a 2 pizza team and they're your AI squad. And you gotta isolate them from all the other stuff and say, look, you're the AI services squad or the agentic squad. And you're just going to build agents that, we're going to build a parallel agency, right? We're going to build the streaming, right? Version of our business. And you're going to just work on that. Right. I mean, I think you could go as far as to make it a separate company with a separate brand. Netflix kept the same brand, but they separated the legal entities. They created 2 different sets of plans and pricing. But I think you do need to separate it because it's hard. And I think traditional agencies are going to be around for a long time. I know that because when I drive down the highway, I don't just see all Teslas, right? Like self-driving cars are here. I mean, they've been ostensibly here for a decade, right? I mean, at some level, but now like they're kind of here, right? I mean, like my friends that drive Teslas, like point to point, they're like on their phones, they're working emails, like they're not like having to do that work anymore. And that's like, when you think about that, that's like a huge, like, wow, I could get, if I'm in my car 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, that's 10 hours of my time I could have back for like email and whatever, like that cognitive load, just like pull that off, right? But magically we don't go out in the highway. It's not 98% Tesla, right? It's still 3-4% or whatever their market share is, right? It's mostly traditional cars that are still doing it the old way, right? And so I think we're going to see, 10 years, 20 years of agencies still doing it by hand or using, the AI first method where we're using the AI tools. It's not fully agentic, but I'm already seeing a lot of agentic agencies pop up. I'm seeing them get crazy results, like crazy high profit margins. They're reinventing how work is delivered. Like the example that you just shared, Jason. I mean, just like imagine going and sitting with a client for an hour, right? I mean, we wouldn't actually drive to that client's place of business. That sounds so archaic, right? But you're sitting with a client for an hour on Zoom, and then you get off, you just like press the button, and it's like the website, the Google business, the SEO strategy, right? It's not just like prepped, it's like launched and it's deployed. And how does that change an agency owner's thinking around what kind of results they can get for their clients? Like they're going to do fundamentally different business models, right? Maybe a complete marketing makeover becomes the opt-in, right? Like, how powerful of a keynote would that be to go on stage to the U.S. Manufacturing Association and be like, hey, if you guys opt in and fill out my form for the next 25 seconds, I'm going to rebuild your entire website, your entire social media. I'm going to create 100 YouTube. Like, that's crazy, right? Everybody in the audience would be like, you're full of crap. I'm going to do it anyways,
pretty
right?
Quick. You could almost do that, all of that right now. Like, it changes.
So it's going to move the free line, right? What people are willing to do for free to get the leads. It's also going to move, I think, in most markets, it's going to make getting results actually much harder, because this stuff's going to move faster and faster and faster. And so I think it's going to be harder and harder for businesses to get results, which means that they're going to need agencies. They're just going to go to the ones that can get the results. And I think the future is going to be the agentic ones, not the people that are like, still doing like, hey, we're going to pixel perfect design this thing for 3 weeks. Then we're going to, code it. Then we're going to like put the content in. Then we're going to QA, those people, like, that process, I think it doesn't serve the client.
What killed Blockbuster, what killed the traditional agency, is all hesitation, because they were too scared and they were trying to protect everything. Yeah. They were trying to protect their way of life, that they've done it for so long, versus like when you started designing websites in high school, or I think college, or when I started designing websites, I had nothing to protect. I didn't know the old way. And I feel that there's going to be, good for us, there's going to be way, way more agencies, but less people, because there's going to be more agents. There'll always be people. And, going back to, I don't know if I finished the story, just because I'm ADD and I'm all over the place. So you got to be my break sometimes, Brent. But like when I was talking about designing that website for that client, he goes, no, I don't want to design it in an hour. I'd rather pay someone to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So like, and I'm like, to me, because I could see it, like, I've built all these sites and I've really kind of just got knee deep in it, and I still feel behind in AI. Like, anybody that says they feel ahead of AI, I think is full of shit, because it changes so fast. Like, we were on the mastermind yesterday and someone was like, oh yeah, I started using Claude Financial. I'm like, what is that? Like, I've never heard this. Like, what is Claude Financial?
I saw, I guess it was from David C. Baker's presentation at Vistara, but one of his slides said, AI is moving so fast, you have to be unemployed to keep up with it. I thought that was a good, like, man, I'd love to do more of this if only I just didn't have any work to do, right?
Well, that's why I've been able to jump into it, because I've hardly work.
Yeah.
Like, that is totally true. Like, if you're already working 60 hours a week on your agency, how are you supposed to? That's why, like, I tell everybody is like, let's figure out your biggest bottleneck for yourself right now. Same thing with what's your biggest bottleneck for your team. Implement AI there.
Yeah.
And then you're learning AI and also saving you some time.
And I heard this, like, people, so somebody at Vistara was like talking about like, like, oh, I can't get my team to like make the time. And I'm like, okay, like, well, are you still giving them like 5 days of billable work every week to do? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, okay. Like, can you tell me exactly to the dollar how much revenue you're giving up in lost billable by taking on fewer clients to give your team a day or two a week to reskill on AI? Well, I can't do that. My business would cut, 25% of my business would go away, right? I can't do that, right? It's like, okay, well, then you're not really investing in your team. You're saying that you want to invest in your team. You're telling your team that you're investing in them because you're telling them more stuff to do, right? But at the same time, you're not actually creating an environment where they feel safe to do those things and to be creative and experimental. And I think the challenge, like one of the things I'm doing right now on my personal side, is I was like doing my grocery shopping the other day. I'm like, why doesn't my like OpenClaw assistant do this? And I was like, I'm just gonna like connect my grocery website to like OpenClaw, and it was interesting because like I started crashing my OpenClaw because I was like, I want you to go through my whole history of all of my orders and I want you to look at all the brands I buy, because my wife was like, I don't want the AI to do the grocery shopping because it's not going to buy the right brands. And I'm like, well, we've already bought all the right brands. Like, I was like, go find all the stuff. And I was like, I don't even want to tell it what to do. I was like, just go give me a spreadsheet of all the stuff that I've bought, the brands that I most frequently buy, and, and then help me build like a smart meal list. Right. And like, I gave it the worst instructions, Jason. I crashed OpenClaw like 4 or 5 times. Our team kept having to like increase the server, right? Like, and of course I'm like going to our CTO. I'm like, VJ, my grocery shopping agent is not performing.
He must have
the
been
duties,
like cussing
right?
you out in Hindu.
He's like, yeah, right. He's like, okay, I can't solve this other problem because I'm working on Brent's grocery. But for me, I was like, well, here's a use case. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna see what happens. Low risk. If I don't get my groceries right, or if I spend too much money there, it's not the end of the world, right? But I learned a lot, right, in just doing that one thing and having an agent. And now I have this like agent that I can just like verbal, like I can just give it like a voice memo and be like, hey, we're out of syrup. It's like, cool. And it adds it. It doesn't just add it. It adds it to the cart and then it gets it ready. And then I'm like, hey, cool, order. And then it orders. I'm like, hey, order for a Sunday afternoon delivery. Cool, it does it. And it's like, well, that's kind of cool. Like, what do we do next, right? And so I think just finding those places that you can, build agents. And to me, like an agent is something that actually it finishes the job to be done. And it doesn't need to be the whole job, but if you take a big picture job to be done, I don't know if your audience is familiar with the jobs to be done framework, but it's actually looking at like, what are the core jobs that are like build website, right? And build website has, a whole bunch of jobs that you have to do in order to like successfully build the website. Yeah. And so like looking at those jobs to be done and replacing those with an agent that you can treat kind of like a person, and some people feel like conflicted. Do you personify it? Do you give like a male's name, a female's name? Like, I don't know. Right. But like you give this thing and you can talk to it and it can do a job. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Originally, when we started getting into this about a year ago, we really trained ChatGPT, like the custom GPT, and we call it Marketing Mark. And then whenever we switched over to Claude now, we just call it Claude.
You just call it Claude, yeah.
Just because it's changing so much and at a rapid pace. Like I could be mentioning Claude today, which is the 28th of May. And 2 hours from now, I could be using Gemini or some tool that no one's ever heard of that is so much more amazing. It's just, I feel like after Elevate, after your guys' event, after, building this AI operating system, all these kind of things, I was working more than I've ever had. And I was telling Darby a little while ago, I was like, this week, I was like, dude, I've just been kind of watching the French Open, kind of just farting around. Like I really had AI fatigue. I was just like, I don't want to open it up because I'm so sick of it right now. Do you go through that ever?
You had your event. You had your event, which takes just a lot of energy, Yeah. And then you came right to our event like the next week, and our team was at your event, and then they came to our event. Yeah. So I think just between all of that and the 6 months of work we put in, I certainly like left Vistara, and I was pretty spent. I told my team, okay. I said after we did it all hands. We did it all hands the next day, and then Friday I got home back in Denver. And I literally was like, I feel like I am on 1% battery. Like, I feel like that's where I'm like, the apps are shutting down. The phone is becoming unusable. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to go do something else today. I'm going to go play hooky from work or whatever. Right.
Okay.
I think there's that. I do think I'll tell you one thing I'm worried about, Jason, is I've noticed that there's certain cognitive work that I have been pushing more to AI, and sometimes, and I went to like write a blog post the other day, and I was like, and I wanted to like, write, and I noticed that and I used to write like 1,000 words a day, and I spent a lot of time like working on my writing, my quality of word selection. When I worked at DigitalOcean, we were kind of baptized in the school of Amazon writing, very like results oriented, all killer, no filler. Like it was just this like, and people like obsessed about it. Right. And I've noticed that skill has atrophied a little bit, and I was like, like I look at like clear writing as like a synonym for clear thinking, right? It's like those two things. If you can write really clearly, it tells me you can think really clearly. And I noticed for myself, I was like, oh man, like I'm not writing long form stuff as clearly because I just think, oh, I can just word vomit this stuff into Whisper Flow or into whatever app you use for that, right? And then it's gonna do the thinking work for me. And that's a little bit of a scary idea for me, to think that. And I saw actually a New York Times or somebody did a thing that they looked at 350,000 essays to get into college. And the essays were written much more effectively. The humans perceived them as better quality essays, but when they actually looked and ranked for new ideas, creative thinking, dynamic thinking, big ideas, these things that would maybe change a society, the things that are on the fringe, like that you might have like your high aptitude people might come up with like really game-changing things, those have gone away in the last 3 years.
It's just kind of the law of averages. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And it just keeps going down. Yeah, it just depends on how people use it too, right? Like, like let's say you run out of your limit. Like I used to be a cartoonist, so I probably need to do a cartoon on this. Be like,
I didn't know that about you, Jason.
Claude shuts down, and then no one's working because Claude can't do the work.
Like when the internet, like Cloudflare would go out, and you'd see like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, it'd be like, or I got my limit, and like I'm gonna go take a break for 3 hours because I've hit my limit, or It is scary because it does hurt people from thinking. But I think on the good side, we'll end on the good side, is with agency owners, they're creative, they're innovative, they're fast thinking, they're very resourceful. And those are the traits that will make people the most powerful with using tools with AI and building things, because we can dream up anything now. And there is no like nothing holding us back, like waiting to find a developer, whatever it is. It's just like we can build what we can envision, right? And when I sold the agency, I thought I sold my soul. Like you might have gone through this when you did it a couple times, but then I realized probably a year after, I was like, I didn't sell my soul. I'm still creative. I'm still innovative. I didn't sell that. I could take that to any place. And I learned that. And when I realized that, especially with AI, I'm like, man, this is an amazing time. Like I get so excited about it. I'm like, sometimes I open up the laptop and be like, what can I create today?
Yeah, that's good. That's good to be inspired. I think it's certainly invigorated me. I joined E2M actually. One third of I had 3 things that I wanted out of my next thing, and to be kind of all in AI. Like I wanted something that really forced me to look at this deeply and make it something that I was like I was going to be able to ride that wave, and so. I'm super inspired about this whole topic and what people are doing and seeing the new business models that are out there and how people are changing the customer experience and getting better results and all that stuff. And it's awesome. Definitely exciting.
Well, where can people go to check you guys out, try you out?
Yeah. They can check us out on our website. We actually have a specific link for our agency mastery friends. If you go to E2M Solutions, that's E the number 2 M, that is in Mary, solutions.com/smart agency. So E2MSolutions.com/smart agency. And then we've got, some goodies on there, and they can check out what E2M is all about.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brent, for coming on. Everybody go check out E2MSolutions.com/smart agency. Until next time, have a swank day.